Well, Boker Tov. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Welcome to the Aliyah day. It's a brand new week and a whole new world. Yes. What is that from? Is that from The Little Mermaid? I forget. It's a whole new world. La, 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 la. Who sings that? I totally messed it up. I'm not sure if that's from The Little Mermaid or something else. But in any case, welcome all of you people who are here for the Aliyah day. This is a new parashah, a new sidra of Terumah, and we are glad that you are here. It is a blessing to have you with us, and I am blessed to be with each and every one of you. If you're not yet subscribed to our channel, then please do so. We would love to have you as a member of our community to be a part here, and plus you will be able to have access, of course, to all of the videos that we share, the Aliyah day, and then some other items as well that come across from time to time. We're on the Rosh Chodesh here, about to enter into the month of Adar 1. This is a leap year, so we have two Adars, Adar 1 and Adar 2. In both cases, Adar 1 and Adar 2, our joy increases. With this, the spirit of joy comes in, and we are looking forward to having joy increase. Baruch Hashem. Listen, I want to cover a topic. We're going to be looking at Terumah, of course, but Rabbi and I were talking about a particular topic yesterday as we were on our way back from Dallas to pick up some kosher meat and so on, and then last night I came across a article, and I just want to touch on this because I think that it's relevant, and I try to touch on topics that I feel like are going to be helpful. So as I said numerous times, the Aliyah day is not just about looking at Torah and gleaning insights, and that's all well and good, and there's a lot of value to that, and it's super wonderful to be able to do that. But in addition to that, the Aliyah day is about how to live our life as Jews who follow Messiah Yeshua. This is Lapid Judaism. This is Yeshua-centered Judaism. Why do we follow the Torah to begin with? What is it about us that drives us to want to live a Torah true Jewish life? And the answer for that is very simple. The Torah is the will of our Father in heaven. It's what He commands us to do. We follow the Torah in response to our covenantal status. The Messiah followed the Torah, did not tell us to do otherwise. In fact, to do otherwise would be a sin. So we really don't have a choice, really. And I mean, we do have a choice, but you know what I mean? We really don't have a choice. We live our life as Jews because our Messiah is Jewish, and that's who we are. So that's why we do what we do. We are Lapid Jews. We believe in Messiah Yeshua. We're not shy about that. We don't hide that fact. As a result, our orthodoxy is by nature going to be a little bit different than traditional orthodoxy. But then again, as I've said many times, Orthodox Judaism is not monolithic. From one group to the next, there are variances, and some of them are significant, some of them are minor, but nobody is. It's not a bunch of Orthodox robots out there that all dress the same and all look the same and all act the same and all believe the same and all march in some type of lockstep as if they were some type of machine. That's not how it works out there. A lot of people who aren't Jewish and never experienced Judaism think that to be true, but it's really not. There are traditions and so on, but we're different, and we're not shy about our difference, and that's really important. We're not trying to copy or mimic some other type of sect. We're not trying to play a shell game and pretend that we're this when we're really not. We're not trying to keep Yeshua on the down low and kind of keep it hush, hush, so that people will think we're just regular Jews and we won't, we'll be invited to the parties and stuff. That we don't do that. And first of all, uh, what would be the point of that, right? We're not a missionary organization. Our goal is not to get Jews saved and make them believers, and that's not our purpose. Our purpose here is to bring the light of Messiah and the beauty of the Torah to everybody. We want to bring in everybody. Well, with that said, I want to remind us of something, because this is all relevant to something that I just came across my phone yesterday as I was Googling something, and I came across an article. Let me just kind of set this up. So, and I want to take as little time as possible with this, but I also think it's important for us because this is a trap that I've seen a lot of people fall into. So what happens is, from time to time, more frequently than not, you get a group of messianic believers. I say messianic because usually that's where it starts. And they get into a movement, a state of mind very similar to Lapid Judaism. But then, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, and I'm really trying to be able to articulate what happens here psychologically, because it's very subtle sometimes, and it's difficult to really illustrate in word. But so they get kind of obsessed with being Jewish, and some of them have missionary minds. A lot of them do. Some of them, it's just a psychological phenomenon. But in any case, you get these groups, and they're small little groups, kind of cultish. Okay, I have to be quite frank, they're kind of cultish. And what they do is that basically they embrace Torah true Judaism, yeah, but they do it and they try to basically mimic the strictest orthodoxy that exists. Haredi, or perhaps, Breslev. They want to wear the black and white suits with the big fedoras, and nothing, not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but just stick with me here. They want to grow their payout out, and they want their ladies to just wear the Rapunzel teckles all the time, and they just go full on Jewish. And then, but the bad thing is, you'd say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, not really anything except for this. They want to basically keep Yeshua on the down low. They're kind of like remember the Christians? This was a movement. I think it kind of still exists today, but basically in Christianity, there were all these churches that about 10, 20 years ago, they decided that if you said you were Baptist, or you said you were Pentecostal, or you said you came out and said you were Assemblies of God, or whatever you said you were, it was kind of a turnoff, like, kind of a thing. So they wanted to become seeker sensitive. So what they did is they basically just presented themselves as just a church, but you had to dig deep into their literature to find out that they were members. That particular church, for instance, as an example, was a member of the Southern Baptist Convention. And so it was kind of like bait and switch. Like we want to just present ourselves as completely, utterly, completely normal, traditional Jews. And we do believe in Yeshua, but good luck trying to find that out. It's going to be very, very, very challenging for you to find that out, right? Because we kind of keep it on the down low, right? And so that happens to these groups. And part of the psychology of that is that, thank you. I just looked at the comments. Angela, it was Aladdin, not the fish story. What's it called? Little Mermaid. Yeah, Aladdin's fun though. But anyway, I digress. Don't let me get distracted here. But in any case, so this happens, and and the reason it happens is because basically people want to be a part of the Jewish community. They want to be accepted by the Jewish community. Now, as a side note, I do find it interesting, and I think this is why there's a psychology here that we don't understand, is that in each case, everybody tries to go to the extreme, meaning they want to be the strictest Orthodox you could be, right? Not all Orthodox Jews are Haredi Hasidim, okay, with big, long 10-foot payot, okay? There's plenty of Orthodox who are just kind of like they're Orthodox. They don't wear black suits and felt fedoras and so on. But these Messianics who want to do this always seem to gravitate towards the strictest orthodoxy possible. So anyway, and that's and Yeshua becomes less and 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 less relevant in their life. And they kind of put him on the down low, as I've said, so that they can be accepted by these groups. And it's really actually deceptive. And some people have even gone so far as to go to an Orthodox group, usually Chabad or something like that, and go through conversion and without even mentioning Yeshua, or if they're asked, they kind of deny him without denying him, but really deny, all that kind of stuff, right? Do you believe in Jesus? Well, no, I don't, but they never mention they believe in Yeshua. In other words, they go through Orthodox conversion without mentioning the fact that they believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, which is a lie and would absolutely invalidate their conversion. But they do it anyway because they want to move to Israel, or they want to be accepted, or they want a true conversion, as if there was such a thing, and all that type of thing. I mean, there is true conversion, but there isn't like a governing body that governs conversions, but that's for another topic. Okay. Does everybody understand what I'm trying to say right now? Am I being clear? I really am asking this on purpose or with intention. All right. So this is the trap that I've seen a lot of people fall into. Okay. They completely lose their mind as to why we do what we do. And they want to be Jews and be accepted by Jews. But ladies and gentlemen, Yeshua said in Yochanan chapter 15, in John chapter 15, he said, if they hate you, they just understand they hated me first. Yeshua tells his Talmudim. Now, I want you to understand what I'm about to tell you right now. Yeshua tells his Talmudim, look, they're going to hate you because of me. And they're going to kick you out of their synagogues because of me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he said this to his Talmudim. These guys are as Jewish as you can get, 100%, no question. I mean, come on. Their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents and great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were 100% Jews. Some of them were with Moses on Mount Sinai. Okay? You can't get any more Jewish than the Talmudim. And Yeshua said, they're going to kick you guys out of the synagogue because of me. Now, if that's true for the Talmudim, how much more so would be true for you and I? Do we really think that because we can play dress up and pretend, keep Yeshua on the down low and wear 10-foot tackles, or 10-foot long payot, not 10-foot tackles for that matter. Do we really think that if we play dress up and we just be as strictly Orthodox as we can, that somehow they're just going to love us? No. And I'll tell you something else that happens. Sometimes these groups go so far. I say groups, as I said, they're usually small. I mean, not more than 5 or 10 people. And what happens is sometimes they'll jettison Yeshua, and guess what? They still won't accept you. Now, why did this come up in the rabbi's mind? What is it? What happened yesterday that came up in the rabbi's mind? Well, I came across this article. I'm not going to mention the name of the article. I am not going to mention the name of the group that it's about. I am not going to mention even their location in the United States, because my purpose here is not Lashon Hara, nor is it to spike the ball in anybody's face. Okay? My purpose is to keep you, and frankly, myself included, from making this same stupid, foolish mistake. Okay? So there was a group, again, a small group, 10 people, okay? A handful of families. And about 3 years ago or so, and they're associated with the mainstream Messianic world. I won't say which group they're associated with because that's not the point. And one day out of the blue, these people just started to attack me and Lapid Judaism, of course, on social media out of nowhere. And I looked these guys up, like, who are these guys? And their observance was spectacular. Man, they were legit, you know. They were hardcore, super stringent, strict Hasidim. And they were making fun of us because we have music on Shabbat and we allow people to drive to shul, which and there's nothing halakhically wrong with either one of those things, but that's for another topic. Okay, I'll debate anybody on that all day long and win. That sounded really arrogant. I'm sorry. That was really arrogant. I shouldn't have said that part. But my apologies. I may not win. You might win the argument, but it doesn't matter. So we're going to drive. They didn't like the fact that, they said our conversions weren't real and all this kind of stuff. And I finally had to block some of their leaders, right? Because I'm like, good grief, guys. And it was the same type of thing I've been telling you about. They're trying to be just super Jews, and they're mocking us and making fun of us. Our conversions aren't valid or whatever. Well, then, in the course of about a year or two, this group where they were located just disappeared. Like they fell apart. And I found that out, and I'm like, well, that's too bad, I guess, whatever. Well, then it looks like last spring, this article was posted by a Jewish group out of Israel that is a anti-missionary organization that works with the Israeli government to try to find people who have basically lied their way into Aliyah. You know what I'm about to say, don't you? So some of these people, after their thing busted up here in Los Estados Unidos, decided that they would basically go through, some of them went through Orthodox conversion at Orthodox places of worship without mentioning they believe in Yeshua, and they make Aliyah to Israel. They get Israeli citizenship. Rabbis have written them letters saying, okay, I vouch for this person's conversion or whatever, which, by the way, only few rabbis have the ability to even do that. So it's not just anybody. But anyway, that's another story. And they moved to Israel. They moved to Orthodox neighborhoods, and they're dressed completely Haredi, completely, 100% looking Orthodox. But for some reason, somebody slips up somewhere, and next thing you know, these organizations that are organized to out these people find out that this is that group I was just talking about. And their leader has to leave the country in disgrace. They have a picture of him here where in country he's got long peyot, long beard, black hat, black and white suit. When he gets back to America, his peyot are shaved off. He's got a hipster haircut, small beard, regular clothing. So it's just, they're showing that as, see, he was a fake. And unfortunately, they're right. And I hate to say that, but it's true. One of the rabbis who wrote a letter for one of the members had to write a letter to the government of Israel saying, I'm officially retracting the contents of that letter due to inaccurate and misleading information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and basically retracts his letter of recommendation. These people now have left Israel in disgrace. They've been outed by the Israeli government because they were fakes. They went to Orthodox synagogues, pretended they didn't know Yeshua, went through conversion, and it's just, now they're just disgraced and fake. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to help you. That's not how we live our lives. They go to Israel, they look super Orthodox, they match everybody, they play dress up perfectly, and they pretend they don't believe in Yeshua or they never mention him, and therefore, it's kind of like saying you got married to a woman, y'all had a beautiful wedding, you're married for a year, and she finds out you actually have a wife somewhere else you forgot to tell her about, or you just didn't mention it. And you think that's going to be okay. ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story is don't do that. Don't ever put Yeshua under a table. Don't ever downplay your faith in Yeshua, thinking somehow that by doing so you'll be accepted in the Jewish community. Ladies and gentlemen, you will not be accepted. I don't care if you were the strictest Orthodox and you had payot that you could play jump rope with, and that you could read perfect Hebrew. I don't care if we came to this, if we walked to this synagogue and we had no music and we did the entire service in Hebrew and we started on page 1 and we ended on page 700 and everything we did was the strictest of the strictest of the strictest, okay, they'd still hate us. Why? Because we believe in Yeshua and he is the divine Messiah, and he said they're going to hate you for my sake. So I need you to understand that. Now, we're not supposed to have animosity towards them, and that's not the point of this conversation either, okay? The point of this conversation is so that you will understand why you do what you do and not make the mistake of these cult groups, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is their end result: shame and disgrace. We're still here. We're still here. By God's grace, we're still here. Believe that. And they're not. They're gone. They've gone the way of the dodo. And this has happened, by the way. I've seen this happen not just with this group, but with others as well. And it's just because you have to be true to who you are. We believe in Yeshua. We will never pretend like we don't. And we certainly won't pretend like we don't so that we can get tickets to the party. I don't know. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Don't make this same mistake. Do not do it. When you're living your Jewish life, when you're living your authentic Jewish life, which is what we do here, and you tell somebody who's Orthodox and doesn't believe in Yeshua that you believe in the Messiah, they're not going to care how you live. They're just going to make fun of you and mock you and whatever. Most of them will. Some of them are not like that. Okay. I've had that experience where some of them don't agree with me, but they're like, okay. But a lot of them will make fun of you. They'll call you fake. They'll call you a Christian. They'll call you whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, just understand, wear that like a badge of honor. That goes with the territory. I don't know. I hope this helps you, because I see it as I'm trying to choose my words here. It's a psychological problem. These people have a psychological problem. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're dressed in black and white, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I wear plenty of black and white. But if you're wearing black and white and you got long payot and you go to Israel and then you get outed and you move home and suddenly you've got a hipster haircut that's all shaved on the side and there's no payot and your beard's all trimmed like you're, in Miami Vice, and you're wearing regular clothes. God, you were fake from the beginning. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? You were fake from the beginning, because it's sad. It's sad to me, but I'm trying to help you not to make that mistake. All right. Wow. It's sad. And this is why we need to make sure we don't make fun of people and, all that kind of stuff. Conversion needs to be about the sake of heaven, not trying to move to Israel and fake people out. Now, I want to share this insight here. Remember, you will be hated for Yeshua's sake. You will be hated for Yeshua's sake. Once you understand that, embrace, and basically, let me say it like this. You need to own that. You need to own that. And the quicker that we own that, the quicker that we will gain respect. Nobody respects a faker. who's pretending to be something they're not. Nobody. And no universe is that ever like, oh man, that was really cool what you did. You pretended to be somebody you weren't. That's so awesome. Nobody ever says that. Said no one never. But when we say to people, yes, we're Torah True Judaism, Torah True Jews. We practice Orthodox Judaism, and we proudly believe in Yeshua. Now, they may spit in our face. They may think that we're stupid. They may tell us that we're this, that, or the other. But over time, they will respect us for who we are because we're not trying to pretend to be something we're not. We are Jews who believe in Yeshua. So you want to invite me to your party? We'll make our own party. How about that? So, and we'll invite you to ours. Maybe you won't come, but at least you're invited, right? Right. Because the other stuff, the whole playing dress up, that's what it is. It's called playing dress up. You're a fake. You're fake. When you walk into a synagogue and you go through their conversion, but you kind of pretend not to tell them that you believe in Yeshua, or you forget, or you somehow orchestrate it so that the subject matter never comes up, you're a fake. You're a phony. That's like getting married to somebody without telling them, oh, by the way, I'm still married. None. And what makes you think that wedding would be valid, by the way? What makes you think that if you got married to a woman without telling her, oh, by the way, I'm married, that somehow that marriage would be valid? What makes you think that? You entered into the relationship on false pretenses. In what universe is any contract, any covenant valid if you enter into it upon fake pretenses or false pretenses? Is there any covenant out there that would be okay? Hey, we entered into a covenant, but you failed to tell me a very significant thing. But you know what? The covenant's still there. No. No. Let's look at Terumah. We're basically out of time, but and I you know, I don't know. I debated whether I should even broach this this conversation, but I feel like people need to know. People need to know. It's such a subtle trap of the Satan. I've seen it so many times. Live out loud. Live large. We talk about living your Judaism out loud. Yeah. Live Yeshua out loud too. Live Yeshua out loud. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, both of us, all of us, we wouldn't know anything about what we're talking about right now if it wasn't for the Messiah. Can I get an amen? We wouldn't know any of this if it wasn't for Yeshua. None of it. Nothing. Zero. A zilch. Nada. If it wasn't for Yeshua opening our eyes, why are we ashamed of that? Did you know, by the way, that when the Baal Shem Tov began, essentially the Baal Shem Tov began what we know as Hasidic Judaism? Do you know that it was rejected? It was utterly rejected by all of Judaism as completely heretical. They were not accepted at the party. You couldn't eat the meat that they served. You couldn't marry their women. Their men couldn't marry your women. They weren't even there was a bans upon Hasidism that if you happened to own a hotel, you weren't even allowed to rent them a room. They were considered complete heretics. And that lasted for just shy of 100 years. 100 years. For those of you in Jamaica, 100. For 100 years. For nearly 100 years, Hasidic Judaism was considered basically pagan idolatry. And it wasn't until over the course of time that things started to change. And now today, Hasidism is considered the core of Judaism. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Lapid Judaism has been around now this year makes what, the 11th year? And Judaism considers us heretics. Well, they also consider the Baal Shem Tov a heretic. Now, they considered Yeshua a heretic. We should wear that like a badge of honor. The brothers considered Joseph a heretic. The brothers considered David a heretic. And we could go on and on and on. As I've said before, when teaching about Joseph, particularly, when the majority thinks that someone is not the right guy, history has proven that generally they are the right guy. And when the majority thinks the guy is the right guy, did I say that right? When the majority thinks the guy is the wrong guy, usually they're wrong. But when the majority thinks the guy is the right guy, history has shown that they're wrong. All of Judaism thought Bar Kokhba was the Messiah to include Rabbi Akiva. They were wrong. All of Judaism thought Shabbatai Zavi was the Messiah. They were wrong. But all of Judaism rejected Moses. They rejected Joseph. They rejected David. And they rejected Yeshua. And they're wrong on all four counts. So don't get caught up in trying to chase the majority. Embrace the minority. Wear it like a badge of honor. Believe in Yeshua. And then understand, the minute you try to play dress up, you will be outed. And I'm firmly convinced that you say, well, who outs you? God. Because he doesn't allow falsehood. It says here in the introduction to Terumah, and I know we're out of time, but it was time well spent. But it says the Torah could at last be given to humanity. This is about the giving of the Torah to mankind. This is why we live out our Torah life. I'll conclude with this. In giving the Torah, God gave humanity his instructions how to turn his world into his home on an ongoing basis. But even more importantly, he made himself, his essence, part of the Jewish soul and the psyche. The Jewish people individually and collectively became the walking presence of God on earth, a people irrevocably obsessed with godliness and its implications in the world. And this is why the laws of conversion to Judaism are deduced from the process through which God gave the Torah at Mount Sinai. I've talked about that before, but I'll mention this again tomorrow because there's actually a good insight from Rabbeinu Bachya about this. But it says it was there that the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were transformed in a quantum leap into the Jewish people. I want to share that insight with you because we have to understand what the purpose of the Torah is. The purpose of living a Jewish life, which is living a Torah life, is to make God known in the world and to transform the world into God's home and to bring the light to the nations. It's not so that we can pretend to be somebody we're not and have a home in an Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem. Did you hear me on that? We're to spread the light of Torah to the people, not to try to infiltrate a group for whatever reasons we're trying to do it, missionary reasons or whatever. This is the purpose of the Torah. And when we keep those things in focus, we live this life for Yeshua. We're not ashamed. We're not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to be deceptive. I want to wear the name Yeshua emblazed across my shirt. Okay? Because my purpose on this planet is to bring people to the light of the Messiah and his holy Torah, and may God help us to do that. Okay, well, obviously tomorrow we're going to get into Terumah and get into some really deep insights here. We'll cover as I said, we'll cover the elements of conversion and where they come from. I've mentioned it before, but as I said, there's a really great insight into Rabbeinu Bachya on these steps and why we derive them from Mount Sinai. If anybody's wondering, like, where did the steps of conversion come from? They came from Mount Sinai, actually, and we'll discuss that tomorrow as well as some other things. Hey, thank you for listening, and be sure and don't keep Yeshua under the table, bring him out into the open, and understand that that's why we live our life. If they hated him, or the world rather will hate you because of him, and understand that. That's just a reality. I wish it wasn't the case, but you know what? There's a reason for everything, and God is the cause of causes. God bless to all of you. Shalom Aleichem. Have a wonderful day. We'll see everybody tomorrow with God's help. Shalom Aleichem.